including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to have you with us. It's Wednesday, July 29th, 2026. I am J.R. Giddings. Welcome to the Reset Talk Show. This show changes the conversation. This platform will help to reset and reshape the nation and the world. Here's a preview of the top stories we are following. We are 98 days out from the midterms, and President Trump is asking the Supreme Court to let him curtail mail-in voting. Our panel of experts will give their reactions. Then we will discuss the conflict with Iran. Polls show that the majority of Americans want the war to end now. Is there an end in sight to this war? Plus, we go across the world to Guyana, South America, to get a live update on the MV Barima tragedy from MP Amanza Walton Desir. All of that and more coming up. You're listening to and watching the Reset Talk Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Whatever your audiology needs are, we are here to help. Our full-time staff includes doctors of audiology, graduate student clinicians. We screen for, diagnose, and treat hearing loss in a diverse population of all ages. We work closely with primary care physicians, otolaryngologists, and other healthcare providers to ensure that we are treating the whole person, not just their hearing.
When it was time for my baby's vaccinations, I wasn't sure what to do. There was so much conflicting information, I didn't know what was real. But then I found out that since the 90s, childhood vaccines have saved over 1 million lives and prevented more than 500 million illnesses in children.
And like me, many parents worry. We all want to do what's best for our babies. So I went to my baby's doctor and I asked a lot of questions.
And got the answers I needed. I choose to vaccinate.
Ask questions, get answers. Vaccinate.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Eli Cohen, and I'm excited to introduce you to the new location of the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council Social Service Center. This is where you can continue to get help for seniors with Medicare, Social Security, any problems with SCREE applications and renewals. We have our health navigator who can provide you with health insurance for your family. We have Medicaid and SNAP applications, of course, and our well-known free business counseling for small businesses. So we're looking forward to greeting you at our new location. We're at the corner of Kingston Avenue and Lefferts Avenue in Brooklyn. Call me, Rabbi Eli Cohen, 718-771-9000, and we're here to serve you.
Welcome back. This is the Reset Talk Show. We have a great show for you this week. We begin with President Trump asking the Supreme Court to let him curtail mail-in voting. Let's welcome in our panel of experts today. Today we have Democratic strategist, Deidre Rashid. We also have Dr. Giddings, Donatella, and Rabbi Cohen. Good morning, all. Welcome to the Reset Talk Show. Here I am again with some of the most powerful women, dynamic women in the country. So let's begin with you, Dr. Giddings. We are 98 days away from the midterms, and President Trump is asking the Supreme Court to let him curtail mail-in voting. What are your thoughts?
I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, JR, panelists, listeners. Good to be here today. Yes, okay. Another round with the Supreme Court. Look, I believe that he is grasping at straws, right? Anything to rig the election. He knows he is underwater in the polls across the board. So what's left to do? I mean, he was fighting with the SAVE Act, right? Which he didn't have votes in the Senate to pass that. He basically let go of the election commission members, right? That's a bipartisan unit that takes care of voting. So he's all about just, finding a way to win unfairly, okay? He went on prime time and gave this big speech about, election fraud. Now, in 2020, he was the one in charge, right? So there was no election fraud in 2016, none in 2024, only when he was in charge. Okay, they've done investigation after investigation. I think they had six cases in court that showed that there was no election, and no election fraud. So, I mean, he's desperate, right? He's also he's also trying to say, if you don't change your voting system, we won't fund you with FEMA, right? Anti-terrorism funding he's trying to take away. So he's doing all the things, right, to win this election unfairly. He started with the redistricting in Texas. He's ordering the U.S. Postal Service not to deliver mail ballots, but that was by a lower court. In the lower courts, they said, no, that can't happen. So now he took it to the appeals court, right? So the appeals court kind of like said, okay, we're just going to wait and see what the Supreme Court says. So he is doing all kinds of things. He's threatening state officials with arrest, and it just goes on and on and on. It just gives you like your head wants to explode, okay? But the thing is, it's like he sees that he's underwater in the polls, in the economy, with this Iran war, people are paying so much at the gas pump. He's saying things like the Democrats made up the term affordability. I mean, you all know when we grow up, you go to the supermarket with your parents and stuff, what you can afford or not afford. I guess he was born with a gold spoon in his mouth, right? So he's never pumped gas. He's never went to the supermarket. He doesn't have to think about any of those types of issues. So basically, to make a long story short, he's going to find any way to rig these elections so he can win at the midterms. And guess what? It's not going to happen because we all have plans. We all have plans with our friends, family, communities to go out there and vote in masses. And basically this won't happen, okay? He's gonna do all manner of things, send monitors, send ICE to polls, everything that's illegal. Listen, the federal government has no part in elections. It's run by the states, okay? So everyone has to get out there and vote. And I'll stop there for now.
Thank you, Dr. Giddings. Audience, if you're just joining us, we're having a conversation around Donald Trump asking the Supreme Court to have him curtail mail-in voting. We have Democratic strategist Deidre Rashid with us this morning. She'll be able to walk us through this. Deidre, your thoughts. I know you've been on the ground, you've been battling this. What can you tell us?
I mean, I think that Dr. Giddings covered most of that, right? I think that at this point, what we're seeing is a man that doesn't understand that if 2020 was a cheat code, then all Republicans should give up their seats. Then their elections were invalid as well. And then Republicans who won in Democratic areas and Republicans who won in Republican areas should give up their seats. Because if you're saying that the election was invalid, and if they want to go down and believe that, then that means that it affected all Republican votes, not just his vote, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, what's interesting is they're going on the hypothesis that they go by the old demographics, and if they go by the old demographics, they win. The problem with that is you now are having discontent with Republicans in areas that were generally his areas. They're not willing to vote for him. They're not willing to co-sign. What I do want us to pay attention to, though, is the party of the right, the religious right. You can ask yourself what would you have done in the civil rights movement? As Black people, we hear often, that was my grandfather's. I don't know anything about slavery. I didn't take any part in it. Well, you know what? This is our civil rights movement. We're watching the Nolan Wells, right? We're watching what you've been doing. We've watched you on full display of ripping out military generals not getting promoted because they were Black women. We've watched the largest hit to Black things. We've watched the attack on African American history, the removal of African American history in Philadelphia, and we've watched it. And so I will say to you this. I am at a strange place in my life where I feel that he is going down, but he will not go down alone. Mm-hmm. And I've said it over and over again on this show, and I continue to say Dr. King saying, it's not the words of your enemies in the end that you will remember most. It is the silence of your friends. And I think for African Americans, we've been taught a very good lesson to question those who say they're allies. Because as we suffer, where have you been? In this voting thing that he's doing with the Supreme Court, with the federal courts, I will say this to you: the states control elections, and at the end of the day, we do not have a centralized system that he can just flip a switch and get his way. And at the end of the day, what he has to reckon with is the Blacks that will be voting because of redistricting in the South, that will be fighting in Louisiana, that will be fighting in Mississippi, that will be fighting against the system, that will be fighting in Texas. In Texas, we have to be careful because they're trying to do the whole voter suppression in the Black community by trying to split Jasmine Crockett away from James Tallarico and leaving him out there to dry, right? And we have to be careful that we are not used as pawns against each other and against our own interests. I feel like a lot of times as African Americans, we get so emotional that we forget the context that we are fighting, that they utilize our emotions to trigger these. You all need to do, as Dr. Giddings said, get out and vote. Part of what he's doing is called voter suppression. If he makes you doubt in the system enough, then you will not get out there, and they're counting on that. He's a chaos president, so he's counting on him causing so much chaos that you get in a state of confusion and do not vote. Do not give him that. I do want you to know very strongly, with everything inside of me, I need you to understand that we don't need yellow spine, jelly spine, Democratic representatives now. And what the blue states need to do, and please take this with the love that's coming from someone who is residing in a red state. Blue states need to start withholding their federal dollars. If you want to penalize them for not voting for Trump, you are dealing with the poorest states. Your states are the poorest states in the union. If the blue states pulled their money, Trump himself would be on welfare, okay? Because he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it to continue a war without the blue states. He doesn't have it to build a little East Room without the blue states. He cannot do any of the things he's doing without blue states. And that's the truth in all red states as well. Now, most red states have all their metropolitan areas that are blue. But if those blue areas of those red states really came out, really did what they needed to do, there wouldn't be a red state in the union. because Mississippi and Louisiana and Texas has the number one amount of African Americans in the union. So if we wanted to, we could flip every single state. That's all I got.
Deidre, as always, clarity is so important. Being unaware, where a lot of us sit, not being engaged. So having you here with all of your knowledge as a democratic strategist, it says a lot. Donatella, do you think the Democrats hold a very good position going into the midterms with this conflict in Iran?
Well, wow, that's a powerful question. I first want to acknowledge and agree with the things that my co-panelists said in terms of the voting. Um, do I think our Democrats hold a good position? I think that's questionable because right now the Democrats are fighting each other, which is exactly what this administration wants. How can you conquer someone? Split and divide. And within our community, it doesn't seem to take much. Um, I think what needs to happen is exactly what my colleague said. We need to focus on what's important, the midterms, and in voting. And what hurts my heart, I am still walking through the community, hearing people say that they're not going to vote. Their vote doesn't count. Like people forgot that 85 million individuals sat out of voting in the presidential election, which is why we are here right now. And I just want to talk about something for a second. When you mention voting and people not being active and not understanding what's happening, just think about this executive order for a second and what the administrative is really asking. Like they want to require verification for eligibility. Now, we already know that this administration is attacking our Black, brown, and immigrant communities. And so imagine if the same immigration was able to compile a citizenship eligible voter list and then reach out to our postal service and say, hey, don't send out those voting applications to those individuals who are not on this list, which is really what they want to do, right? So if the hand that's trying to feed us doesn't like us, you can imagine they're going to ensure that the mail is already slow. People are not going to get their votes. And then talk about enhanced voter tracking, right? The ballot trackings. So they're going to individualize the tracking barcodes for each mailed item. Right now, I'm already not getting my mail, and my mail goes to the same postal box for the last 13 years. And so if you can't suppress people by the manner in which they have already done, what's the next thing you do? You take away that opportunity. We already can't give water to our elderly in the line. So like, what else is there? The other thing I want to say is, especially here in Brooklyn, with the latest ICE sightings in Flatbush, we already know that people are intimidated by ICE, and especially with the ending of TPS. So if you get the federal involvement where Homeland Security and other federal agencies are playing roles in the voting, guess who's going to be afraid to come out? Because we know that these individuals aren't just taking criminals, right, to deport them. They're taking anybody they feel like and kidnapping them. So I just want to tell people, concentrate on what is important. Everyone come out and vote. Treat the voting opportunity for midterms the way you treat your favorite Sunday brunch, your favorite movie, your favorite concert, the way these people came out in Brooklyn to support Jay-Z a week ago, the way we engage in our NBA finals. Get out and vote. If you're in Brooklyn and you want me to come hang out with you, after I cast my vote, I'll come out with you as well in November.
Now,
and to add to what Donatella is saying, right? What did our forefathers fight for, right? They fought for the right for us to vote. So the people who are going around saying their vote doesn't count, they really need to do some check the history, because we fought to get to this point. And if we just sit at home and not go out to vote, then what was all that for? Okay, so we just need to be intentional. We need to talk to each other about what's important and why it's important. And then we need to get out there and get all the communities together, and we need to vote in masses.
I do want Dr. Giddings, I'm so sorry. JR, if I could just say one quick thing.
Definitely.
So I want to address some of the things that Donatella just said, because it's hard for people when we say go out to vote, but then we highlight all of the suppression, right? Because then people get discouraged and they don't move. So I want to address some of the suppression, because Donatella brought out some good points. And I think that we can't just address the suppressions. We also have to address the tactics to block the suppressions. Mm-hmm. And so in mail-in ballots and those things, I want you to know they did that in Florida in 2012 when I was over there with Obama. And they knocked out 1 million Republican votes. Because guess who the older white seniors are doing? They're not waiting in the polls. They're not doing that. They're doing mail-in ballot. So he knocks out his own Republican support in his suppression of the mail-in ballot. That's the first thing I want you to understand. The second thing I want you to understand is in Democratic cities, they have what we call ballot box drop-offs. They don't depend on the mail-in ballots at all. That's what Democrats need to be thinking of. We need to have drop boxes, and we need to have guards at that drop boxes, because in Texas and other areas, you saw people who were blowing up those ballot boxes because they were trying to cheat. So you've got to have protection on those, whether we put them in surrounded by a fireproof box, whether we do, we have to have protections on those ballot boxes, but we should take it completely out of the federal system. Democrats need to think strategically. You need to have drop-offs for your ballot boxes. Take it where seniors don't have to use the mail system at all. You don't have to worry about how slow the system is. The other thing is in Texas, they did overnight drive-through voting, overnight voting. They did all the tactics. And here's the thing. We've got to get creative about making it easier for people to vote in states where that their vote matters. The other thing is, Donatello brought up the TPS and the ICE. This is another reason why voting by mail is important. The reason that they're trying to handicap those that would normally vote by mail if they felt intimidated or too intimidated to come in. But the other thing you need to know is you can also drive up vote. You can drive up vote, especially if you're a senior. You can't walk. You can drive up and vote, and they will come out with the ballot box to you. So I just want people to know that if you're living in those communities that are living in fear, then as an ally, you should get an ally that can stand with you, walk through with you, and make sure that you feel safer. And if we see those type of intimidations, we need to be, as Democrats, have attorneys at the courts already ready to file on any type of federal intimidation at the polls. We also need to have our own people at the polls. So if that means dropping our own police departments to protect the ballot away from these people, or moving back the military, or our governors challenging them, that needs to happen. But we are tired of the older jelly spine legislator who just sits around and gives good speeches and press conferences. But then when it comes to war, they don't know how to fight other than the strong speeches on the floor of the House. We want you to get in the courtroom. We want you to use some measures that prevent us from going through this. We want you to show us that you are elected for more than just a Photoshop. We want to see some actions and what you do to protect citizens. It is very important that the people that you elect protect you. And that is more than a press conference.
Thank you, Deidre. I just want to ask the same question, about the Democrats. Are they in a very good position? Because the latest poll found that nearly 2/3 of Americans disapprove of President Trump's handling of the economy.
They're in a great position. They're in great position. They're not depending on the Democratic Party. And I think people need to stop saying that, because they're winning. We have flipped every single Republican seat. Republicans haven't flipped one seat. And the reality of that is it's being done through the Democratic organizations. They're not depending on this consolidated, centralized party. You have so many unions that are acting outside of the Democratic Party. You have organizations like anywhere from Women for Reproductive Rights to the Mad Women to women against gun, those against gun violence. These organizations have centralized entire networks and makeups from the bottom to the top. So stop letting the Republicans feed you this. They love to see us disorganized, and they love to see us fighting against each other. So you can ignore the pedophilia. You can ignore the things that we're seeing. You can ignore the destruction of American history. You can ignore the denigration and the lies on the deaths in Iran and the smudging of the numbers of the sicknesses of the troops. You can ignore the president getting up in the morning and making 5,000 posts, making him Captain America, standing by JFK. Now he's sitting there throwing the Iranian flag down, talking about he's stealing from the Iranians. You know, it is something when a thief believes that his excuse for stealing is he did it first. It's almost like watching a high school game, right? None of them amongst them have honor. None of them. And the American people are not behind this war. This is the Israeli war. It is not America's war. And we got in it and we're stuck in it until Netanyahu says we can leave. And that's the reality. And that's the truth. And Americans are paying with blood, sweat, and tears. And he's turning back the numbers of Americans that have died just so he can lie, just so he can continue this war. He doesn't care about our children. He doesn't care about our tax dollars. This is America. We all pay tax dollars, Republicans or Democrats. Whether you were elected by me or not, you're supposed to be my president. The day that you get up there and admit that you didn't give my state funding for grants and things that we needed because we didn't vote for you is the day that you stop taking money from blue states. Don't take a dime from blue states. You live on those red states. And tell me how you been. Now, I hate to do this, but I have will continue on complimenting and finding a way to make Lucifer look like Jesus, right? But I will tell you this: at the end of the day, truth matters. And I don't care what is said when I exit this. I'm telling you, at the end of the day, truth matters. And anytime you see a person who cannot criticize their own people, who does not know good from wrong, who does not know right from left, when it comes to party, that is a person that has no integrity. He moves with the wind. Because what has to happen is, whether you're right or wrong, you need to say what's wrong. Because Democrats eat their own. We get one pedophilia sniff. You ask Graham Plattner what it is. We get one sniff that you ain't right, and we're kicking you out. Republicans, they throw an ice cream party for you. They want to welcome you in your party. You molest children? Here, come on. You're a rapist? What? You are our new standard bearer of our nation. And there's just no level that a Republican won't go. The only thing you can't be is black or an immigrant or a woman, right? That's the only thing they don't like them. They don't like them. But you can be white and male, and you got it made, honey, in the Republican Party. They'll defend you, and they can catch you in a room with a child, and they're gonna defend you. You can be in pictures with a 13-year-old on your lap and be the president of this nation, and they will stand by you come hell or high water. They don't know God then. They don't know God then. They will sacrifice their God then to defend a man that has done everything the Bible says is satanic and demonic, but they'll stand by him because guess what? They'd rather go down in red than be found being anything but white. They'd rather be white than right. They would. And so we've seen it. And I just hope and pray for all of them. They go and talk about Lindsey Graham, who called over there for some votes and asked for some votes. And they done romanticize this man's image like he was the next thing since sliced bread. Get to the truth. Now stop lying on people. That man tried to cheat the last election, called the state, asked for votes for something, and he knew he was wrong. Call a spade, and stop lying to the American people. You all need to stop acting like you are the devil and then masquerading like you know Christ.
Deidre, I know you have 2 minutes left before you
2
jump.
minutes. I done
2
tried to
minutes.
say everything. Donatella, did I get it, girl? Did I hit every point? Because I
You
tried to
did,
hit.
but I feel like our
Facts.
rabbi wants to say something to you.
Yeah, no, we have to bring it. We have to bring
Listen,
it.
I have to get off in 2 minutes. So,
Facts,
Let's bring it,
Deidre,
Rabbi.
facts.
Rabbi Cohen, you heard the Democratic strategist in Deidre say that this war is a Israeli war,
it is.
and here we
It's not
are.
ours.
The American people are totally against this war. What are your thoughts? Do you concur with her findings or not?
Now, JR,
Well,
you know he don't concur.
all I have
He
to say
don't
is,
concur.
yeah, you know, Dieter, it's okay. You could leave. I won't say anything nasty about you when you're gone. It's okay. I promise. All I'll say is that you covered a lot of ground that I can't
I don't mind
possibly.
if you say it. You just say what you feel is right. I feel you have a right to your opinion. This is America, and I will not squish that out of you. And so I respect the fact that we have alternate viewpoints. I don't think that you're less than an American, less than a person. I disagree vehemently with your stance, but that does not make me feel that if you know, like how
Right.
y'all like humanize people. The whole thing is I question the integrity and the character when you can't say a wrong is wrong. And when
Okay.
you have a man with 34 felony convictions and pedophilia pictures and Epstein files and all of this, and you all cannot criticize him. You can't say one thing Trump did wrong. It's just like I don't even understand. How do I listen
I'll
to
tell you one thing he did wrong from today's. Okay, one thing he did wrong. Here's this one thing that Trump did wrong that I can absolutely. It's been absolutely confirmed this morning. Fresh breaking news, and that was that he listened to Fauci and closed the schools during COVID. That is absolutely been shown to have been a very, very bad mistake. And Fauci is. I
So
don't know
you
if you
would
know.
rather American children die so that your
No
Trump, who
children
said
died.
he wanted
Very
the
almost no. Oh,
sunshine
one
and to
second.
drink bleach for
That's
COVID,
yeah.
that your president, who
Now we're
said
going to
he
drink
wanted to
bleach.
hide the
Okay.
COVID
No,
numbers,
that's what
that
the
your
president
president
said.
That's
who
what the
didn't want to
president
wear
said.
masks, your president who had COVID and walked around and exposed Secret Service members so he could circle around the Capitol and cost them their lives, and your president who, after saying all about his masking and what he wouldn't do, got caught with COVID, and you want to take the children of America and sacrifice them so your pedophilia president can get somewhere in life. I tell you what, Rabbi, I tell you what, next time you don't send your kids to school. You send all your kids, your grandkids, your cousins, and your nephews into that COVID. I'm going to keep my kids at home.
Okay. I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I don't know. The only reason I'm going back. Okay.
To force my kids. You don't get to force my kids to school. And guess what? He's
Not
the president, but he doesn't run my household. If I determine I'm not taking my kids to school, I'm not taking them to school. And you and your president can go to your COVID circle and you all can both roll around in that thing. Matter of fact, take the Secret Serviceman out and tell him to call the rabbi. Tell him to call the rabbi next time he got COVID. Rabbi will get in the car with him and circle around the White House so the Secret Service don't have to be exposed to COVID. And then maybe the rabbi will join him in drinking bleach and going in the sunshine to kill COVID, like his president said would happen. And
okay.
You know what?
Didra. I know you have to leave.
After New York, and you should be ashamed being the Mecca center of COVID, where there were dead bodies everywhere, where your hospitals were overrun, where you saw the NCAP, and you should be ashamed because the Bible says to do anything to one of these little ones, you might as well cast a stone around your throat and throw yourself into the deep. But you know
Wait a second. Okay.
Anyone who doesn't care about their children, who doesn't want to hide and protect their children in a pandemic, is somebody that I don't need to follow and I don't need to listen to, because it is obvious that our children are not a priority to you or our president. And after all, the only children he cares about and barely cares about them is the ones who are currently in the highest level of corruption, making all this money.
You go from topic to topic. I love it. Okay.
$2 billion on taxpayer. So
Didra, before you leave, 2 seconds. Before you leave, 2 seconds. All I want to say is this. I think I love your I will tell you this. I disagree with many of your ideas, but I will say that I cannot compete. I cannot compete with your debating style because you are the king when it comes to really holding the conversation. So I can't fight with you. And what you said was very nice, by the way, about ideas and respect. And I have the same for you too. I think that you stand by your principles, believe in what you believe in. But I don't know if you heard the news this morning, but Dr. Fauci pled the
he's going
fifth
after another one of his political enemies.
about 100 times.
Hold on, Rabbi. Let me clutch my pearls. He's going after another one of his political Stop the press. Dr. Giddings, did you hear it? Oh, it's no longer Kennedy Center. It's not. It's not Letitia. Oh, wait a second. It's not Comey. Oh, wait. It's not Jack Smith. Oh, wait. It's Dr. Fauci. It's another political enemy. Your president has
Wait
found.
a second. Wait a second.
Wait a second. Wait. It's not the dead man that just died. The one before Jack Smith that did the first investigation that he went ahead and wanted to eviscerate and said he was glad he was dead.
Mueller.
Oh, wait. You think that some reason we're going to respect that he said something against Dr. Fauci for trying to save American lives, and somehow the king of killing American soldiers is going to be the one that we believe is interested in preserving American life? The one who said he was drinking bleach and going in the sunlight to cure COVID? And that's what you want us to believe? You know what? I want some of that. Whatever you drinking, whatever you eating, whatever type of thing in the cult of Trump that got you cults, whatever makes you more fearful of Trump than God, please show it to me.
Okay, listen, I will just say this on the children. And
Rabbi, before you jump in, we don't know if our listeners and viewers is aware that Dr. Fauci has inserted the Fifth Amendment. He is sitting in front of Congress regarding COVID-19 policies and origins. So I know that you brought this up to me before, Rabbi Cohen. You were telling me about something that's going to come down about Fauci. So you
of course, he gonna know about his boy. Oh yeah, and please understand, I'm sure the next one is gonna be the doctor that smacked his behind when he was born. He coming after everybody. It's just the whole thing. I would plead the fifth too, but you know what? He better plead the fifth when he loses the Senate. Plead the fifth when he's impeached, and don't pick up the soap. Don't pick up the soap when you go in, because there's not a state this side of the Mason-Dixon that's going to stop that behind from getting it. I'm telling you right now, as God is God, God will not be mocked. All this evil he's doing will come back to him, because God is not asleep. You see a man over there and he's stealing and robbing the American people blind, and still he can't sleep at night. He up texting and bludgeoning and this and that. He over there with a diaper. He can't get no peace. He can't walk. He got illnesses. His heart don't work. This don't work. That don't work. That is God is not pleased with you, sir. Okay, so you go ahead and talk about 2028. You must think that God is on your timeline and not you're on his. But go ahead. Y'all keep it up. Keep it up. Throw the Constitution. Use it as your toilet wrap. Go ahead.
All right. I just wish that I'll be as healthy as him at 80, but I don't know.
As healthy as him. You wish that you were overweight, having an electrical pump for the left side of your heart, your ventricular
I don't think
heart.
he has. Does he have a pacemaker? I don't think so.
Oh, sweetheart.
No,
I
he
know
doesn't.
You didn't. That burger-eating hamburger man that couldn't even walk up the stairs by himself, and talked about the veins that are pulling at his ankles. And just so you know, I didn't go to medical school, but if they pulling at your ankles, it means your heart is having a hard time pumping the blood back to your heart. And when your heart is having a problem, you have to put in things. And you see, the problem, Dr. Rabbi, is that you can only put so much injections into the vein to open it up, to make it pump blood back and forth to help it. Eventually that method has to stop, and they have to go to another method. Ergo the discolorations on his neck, sir, because the veins on the hands and those were expended. So you keep on thinking he healthy. I mean, right now I want to buy stock in whatever money or food that you eating that make you a Trump cult like. I want that. I want to know how these Trump cult people that you could look at this overweight, tired man who is over here, got 22 doctors, People who are healthy don't need 22 doctors. Okay. And so you can keep on doing it. But one thing I can tell you about this, Rabbi, is you're going to have a God lesson with you. Because if you think that Trump determines his death date, you're going to have a God lesson. Because one of the things I can tell you is my Bible says you dig one ditch, you better dig two. And he done digged a whole lot of ditches. Sweetie, he done dig a whole lot of ditches. And my God said he's not asleep. He's not dead, and he's not a respecter of person. So I know your God may respect Republicans over Democrats, but my God just believes in good and bad. And he's done a whole lot of bad. And I just believe he's going to get that. He's going to get that, and we're going to get to see him get it. And I'm going to say this to you. Hold on, Rabbi. No, because you over there talking some type of Disney. Disney needs to hire you. I mean, the fantasies that come out your mouth, Disney needs to hire you. Because we would have to disregard all facts to listen to you. I would have to disregard the fact that New York had bodies in the hospitals, that nurses were breaking down from COVID, that people lost their lives all the way up the spectrum, that they were seeing that they couldn't control the air systems in the schools to stop the children from getting it, or even to expose teachers. I would have to disregard history to sit and cheer for what you just brought up. That Dr. Fauci should have let children walk into hell's table and let the enemy take our kids out through sickness, because your president didn't want to admit that he was an epic failure as a president during a medical pandemic. And so please excuse me if I don't believe the hype, because my Bible is still based on facts.
All right.
Deidre, listen. I know that everything that you said is important, because you told me, JR, I have to get off at 10:30. But
that was the rabbi's fault. Yes, the rabbi's fault. He done said all these fantasies, and I just was like, my Jesus in me couldn't let the lie live. I had to say something. It was the lie that I couldn't stand. It is the lie. It is the lies. It is almost hurtful to my intelligence. It's not the lie told. It's the fact that you believed I would believe it. It is honestly intellectually insulting, as if to say I was asleep during the pandemic. Oh, are you going to believe me or your lying eyes? Stop it.
Well, I will say this. That's
what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do.
We're going to give the audience a chance to marinate on all that information that they just got. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will definitely talk.
I will be gone. And then you can get to hear Rabbi go back down Disney Lane. Okay, bye-bye.
We will take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're coming back with Rabbi Cohen. We're coming back with Donatella and Dr. Giddings. Once again, Dr. Fauci has pleaded the fifth this morning, as he was before Congress talking about COVID-19, the policies and the origins. We'll take a commercial break, and we will be right back.
At Roger Victor Archibald Civil Rights and Personal Injury Attorneys, we are family.
No matter what the case is, we go fight it. If you're looking for justice, you will get it. Roger will treat you like you is VIP. Come join the winning team, cause in this love for we treat you like family. Winning millions for players since 1991. Family. Working together here as one, yeah. Family. So call us today at 718-237-1111 or visit our website at BookplayerAtty.com. From the shores of the Caribbean to the United States Courthouse, where clients are treated like people and not simply cases. Call us if you have a case involving police brutality, medical malpractice, construction accidents, automobile accidents, and all other personal injuries.
This is attorney Roger Archibald. Call me today at 718-237-1111. We are family.
Whatever your audiology needs are, we are here to help. Our full-time staff includes doctors of audiology, graduate student clinicians. We screen for, diagnose, and treat hearing loss in a diverse population of all ages. We work closely with primary care physicians, otolaryngologists, and other healthcare providers to ensure that we are treating the whole person, not just their hearing.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
When it was time for my baby's vaccinations, I wasn't sure what to do. There was so much conflicting information. I didn't know what was real. But then I found out that since the 90s, childhood vaccines have saved over 1 million lives and prevented more than 500 million illnesses in children.
And like me, many parents worry. We all want to do what's best for our babies. So I went to my baby's doctor and I asked a lot of questions.
And got the answers I needed. I choose to vaccinate.
Ask questions, get answers. Vaccinate.
Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the Reset Talk Show. Wow, that was quite a contentious segment with our Democratic strategist, Deidre Rashid, and Rabbi Cohen, one of our faith leaders. Welcome back in, panel. Again, the breaking news this morning is Dr. Anthony Fauci has been testifying in front of Congress. He pleaded the fifth regarding COVID-19 policies and origins. Rabbi Cohen, when you heard the breaking news this morning, what jumped out at you?
Well, the first most important thing was that if you know Dr. Rand Paul, who is himself a medical practitioner, who's the senator in Congress who's leading these hearings, he had published before the weekend Dr. Fauci's incredible diary where he writes entry after entry about how he's becoming so famous, how he's even more famous than Trump, how he's just, the whole world is looking at him, he's getting so much media attention, and really made him look very, very petty and small as the leader of policy during the COVID period. He seemed to be more concerned about the headlines he was getting than the advice he was giving. The other thing that was very important that we know is that it has now been pretty much revealed that the COVID-19 virus escaped from a lab in Wuhan, China, and not from the wet market, as had been the lie that Fauci had put forth during the COVID crisis. And it was actually research that was sponsored by Anthony Fauci's funds that had been the experiments that led to this lab leak. So Dr. Fauci was directly responsible through his funding through NIH of this research that actually created this very difficult virus that was hard to control. So that's and as we know, before he left office, Joe Biden gave a blanket pardon to Fauci, even though he'd been not charged of any crimes. Although it actually appears that that Biden didn't give the pardon, and now that Fauci has pleaded the fifth, I think it's very likely that Congress will now do an investigation as to whether that pardon was actually issued by Biden or just one of his people, because only the president himself has the right to pardon, and that pardon was done with the auto pen. It was not actually done by Biden. And there is no record of any meeting where Biden even authorized the auto pen to be used to pardon Fauci. So this is a very, very, very important. As to the point that Deidre was making about the schools, so I think right at the beginning when we couldn't really control the shutdown, when we really couldn't control the virus at all, an initial closing down of businesses and schools might have been appropriate in the spring of March, April, May of 2020. But I think many states, including Florida, was one of the biggest ones, didn't keep the schools closed for a year and a half, as was done in New York and other states. And in fact, my own children, and I have many of them, as you know, went to school in the fall of 2020. A couple of classes got COVID. They were off for a week. They went back to school. A very, very tiny percentage of the COVID deaths were school-age children. So a very tiny percentage. I think Dr. Giddings will concur with that. The main threat in COVID was older people and people who had severe immunocompromised conditions. So I think that Florida did a better job of keeping schools open and protecting the elderly rather than sending people from the hospitals back into nursing homes as the governor of New York did, and resulting in many, many more deaths. So it's not so clear that the advice from Fauci was correct either, as far as closing the schools in the fall of 20 and into 21, and certainly whether or not it was the right decision is clouded by the fact that he was obviously so obsessed, as these diaries have revealed, with his own importance. But if you haven't seen that, it's because the news outlets that you rely on, CBS I think reported in the end, but NBC, ABC, and CNN did not report the release of the Fauci diaries at all on their news reports on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into early Monday. So that's, if you don't know about it, it's because your news people are not telling you what's going on.
Well, thank God that you're here this morning, Rabbi Cohen. We don't know what all the facts are, okay, but we will try to unpack this the best way we could. Please don't leave yet, Rabbi Cohen. Dr. Giddings.
I would like to address a couple of things that Rabbi said. First of all, children are the drivers of disease, okay? When you have children in school, they bring everything back home and to the communities. And when this COVID came out, we were all trying to figure it out, okay? So you can't do hindsight and talk about what should have happened or what could have happened. In terms of flu, if you send kids to school or whatever, that virus spreads like wildfire. COVID, the same thing. And as you said, which was correct, the elderly were going to be hurt the most. When you got children coming home to the households with elderly, the communities, etc., that's how that's going to be affected. When something is going on, like a pandemic, and we don't know what's going on, we have to be very careful about what we do and what we institute. So that's how this type of thing works. That's how viruses work. This is a virus we didn't know anything about. We were working really hard to create a vaccine and all these different things. So to protect the family, you want to protect the children so that things aren't spread. You know, I mean, even though their immunity might be the same, you have to protect kids with immune problems, adults with immune problems, the elderly, etc. And kids are the drivers of these viruses. They get it from school and they come home and they spread it to the household and the community. So that's how that works. And as far as what Deidre was saying about the children, the other thing that this loyalist, this conspiracy therapist, conspiracy person that he put in, RFK Jr., do you know that measles cases have hit like a record high since this vaccination waning has gone down? I mean, there's no herd immunity. Vaccination rates have dropped to 92% in kindergartners. Right now, to have herd immunity, you have to have a 95% vaccination rate. So now you have children bearing the brunt of this. More than like 80 children and adolescents have been hospitalized this year with pneumonia, with brain swelling, which is encephalitis, and it has lasting damage, right? You can get blindness, deafness, and there's no treatments for measles. The treatment is getting your kids vaccinated at 1 year and 4 years old to create the 95% vaccination rate, to create the herd immunity so that you could prevent measles from spreading. But since year 2000, we had eliminated measles. Now, from 2024 to 2026, it's been it's accelerated beyond. It's no more eliminated right now in the US. So to reverse the course of measles, we require like a nationwide push to improve the vaccination rates. And prospects think, experts, it's unlikely that this will happen under the under the health secretary, RFK Jr. I mean, he's just caused food safety problems like we talked about with the Cyclospora, right? They have decreased, Doge cut the CDC 25 to 30%. Now we've got cyclosporiasis in 41 states, outbreaks in 9 states, over 4,000, infections recorded. So the thing is, he's got all these inadequate, just unqualified people in places. Let's not even get started with Hexet. So with RFK Jr., and he's the head of all of this. So the head, it stinks from the head down. Everything is a holy mess. Okay. And so basically we really have to, everyone go out there and vote and get some other people in here so that we can just correct all of these issues that has been going on, because it's just not a good situation. Okay. And who are getting affected worse medically? Children. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I certainly, I think, JR, I certainly agree with Dr. Giddings about the measles. I think that is a big shame that there is this undercurrent, and I agree about Kennedy that unfortunately he has some very good ideas about healthy, more healthy lifestyles, about trying to encourage people to to improve their well-being. But as far as his suspicion of vaccine, I agree with you that it's a bad thing and it should be counteracted. I just do want to say this though, that I think, talking of Dr. Fauci, I think it's the same thing, that there was a during the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember, it was Trump who did this Operation Warp Speed to get the vaccine ready, and it was ready the day after the election. I think that they held it till the day after the election, so he couldn't get credit for it. Intentionally was held till the day after the election by the Fauci people, right? So it was held till the day after the election. They didn't allow it to be used, and then when Biden came in, he was one of the first ones to get it, and so Trump was responsible for that vaccine, and I think that a lot of the suspicion of vaccine was because of the COVID-19 vaccine. Because although it was a good thing, I took 2-3 shots of it. I thought it was very good. And I thought, but many people, some of the vaccines were not that good. Some of the vaccines had bad side effects with heart of young people, and there was coercion to try and force people to take the vaccine, including people who had already had the virus who had natural immunity. So, and the various strains and so on, similar to the flu, where every year the strain is a little bit different, and you try and guess it, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. So, look, I agree with you about it. So in the spring of 2020, I think the initial close down till we figure things out was appropriate. I think the work on the vaccine was good. The coercion of the vaccine and firing people for not taking it was bad. And that caused a lot of skepticism, which has increased now the skepticism when it comes to measles and other things. And in other countries, they did count natural immunity in allowing people to not take the vaccine if they had already could document that they had the disease. And this was not done in America, which is very surprising, especially considering some of the side effects in young people. So, look, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag, but I think that Dr. Fauci, I mean, to go back to the point, Dr. Fauci was not serving the country, he was serving his own ego. It's very clear from the diaries. It's very clear from the decisions that were made. And the fact that he's standing there pleading the fifth now, I think we're going to, because he got a pardon from Biden. All he had to do was now tell the truth and nothing would happen. The fact that he stood there.
That's not true. If you just said there's a question to the validity of the
No, because
right?
So it seems like they stipulated. Yeah, so they stipulated. If you tell the truth today,
but Rabbi, you're contradicting now just what you said yourself.
No, I'm going to explain it. No,
hold on.
Yeah,
exercising his constitutional right to not say anything at this point, possibly for fear of incrimination. Plus, it seems like another diversion, right? It's a politically motivated inquiry, let's say, right? But you just said a few moments ago that first, it appears Biden issued the pardon but no, maybe he didn't because it was done with an auto pen. And if it was done with an auto pen, then maybe it doesn't cover it. So I think you can't say both unless I misheard you. So
No.
maybe,
So I explain. So let me explain. I think that the point going in was like this. There are two options, right? Either Fauci has a blanket pardon of everything that happened until the moment that the pardon was given. And I don't think people really want to challenge that, even though they could. So they said, okay, if you have a pardon, you can't come in now and say, I plead the fifth. I won't tell you what I did in 2020 because you have a pardon. There's no reason, there's no Fifth Amendment. You can't incriminate yourself because you're pardoned. The only thing you cannot do right now is tell a lie, because if you tell a lie now, that's not covered by the pardon. So if you come in and tell the truth and say, look, I funded this research, I was responsible for it, I lied to Congress before, but I'm pardoned, and people will accept that and go away. If he now comes in and wants to defend himself and say, it wasn't my funding, that I did not fund gain of function research, right? If he wants to come in and say that today, he can't say that because then he would be perjuring himself now. If he admits the truth, it's covered by the pardon. If he says new lies, so now that he pleaded the fifth, meaning he's not ready to say anything now, that encourages Congress to say, okay, you're hiding behind your pardon, but you're not hiding behind your pardon because you're refusing to tell us the truth now also. So we're going to challenge the pardon too. And that, I think, is very possibly going to be the course of what's going to happen. It's not clear that the pardon is going to be
This
thrown
is
out.
so rich, Rabbi, coming from you. I mean, you would never say anything about a convicted felon that we have as a president who lies every day as soon as he opens his mouth. You're talking about Fauci, who is impeachable reputation, who was really instrumental during AIDS and all other epidemics that happened, Ebola, etc., through several.
He did a great job. Yes.
Let me talk through several administration. This personality you are, demonizing right now, and just because of what's going on, and he's not saying anything right now. We don't have anything. We don't know anything. But you're going on presumptions and what you read in diaries and all this kind of stuff. This hearsay. When we have proof of things that people like Donald Trump has done and has been convicted of, and you would never say a wrong word about him. The pedophile in chief. Not a wrong word about him, but this impeachable character that's had decades of service in the medical field, that has done so much for medicine. That's who you're trying to denigrate right now. See, that's what we're talking about. You don't call out the wrong on the other side, okay? And that's just part of it, okay? That's just part of it. There's others there.
Dr. Giddings, Rabbi Cohen and Donatella.
I mean, it's just wrong. Dr. Fauci is just, he's just beyond reproach right now. And so I can't just sit here and hear all of this going on about him, because this is someone that has done so much for medical science, etc. And until we know the facts, we should stop talking right now. These are not facts. These are hearsay and what you heard. No facts.
Dr. Giddings, do me a favor. Okay. JR, give me 1 second. I was just going to say one thing. Dr. Giddings, please do me a favor. When you have a chance after the program, go on Google and Google Dr. Fauci's diaries and read what he himself wrote contemporaneously.
I want you to Google the Epstein files. Google the Epstein files. They put out a whole book review right now. And go ahead and Google the Epstein files, and then we can compare notes. Okay. Until we admit the other side, I am not saying anything until we know what's going on. Until there's a trial. Until we hear evidence. As of now, I don't know anything. I know what I know from the past. I know what I know from the past with Donald Trump and the future and everything, and it doesn't compare, it doesn't compute. I'm not about to litigate this right now without facts. So there you have it.
Dr. Giddings, your perspective is solid. Donatella said something, and it's profound. This might be another distraction, yes, but the facts are, even when we were going through COVID, a lot of people were not trusting Dr. Fauci. So I think what's happening now, as this breaking news has occurred this morning, it just stirred up the pot. And Rabbi Cohen, okay, is more or less saying the things that a lot of people in the US have been saying for a while. This is why this is breaking news. So, looking at it from both sides, let's not even begin to say or think that people believe in Dr. Fauci. A lot of people did not believe in him. And here is where we are. This country would remain divided, and everything comes from information. There's misinformation, and we're at a point where people are sitting down. I know people that are sitting down right now saying, I always knew something about that Dr. Fauci. I've heard people say that over and over. Donatella, finish up before we take a commercial break.
Yeah,
And we have to come back for the next segment.
well, I think there are a couple of things, right? The fact that the United States, the government, whomever, is putting this entire thing on Dr. Fauci's head is a little crazy for me. And I just want to go back just for a second. So I remember when the pandemic first started and our current sitting president made a statement that I think was detrimental to the health and well-being of a lot of Black and brown people. Do you remember when the statement came out that it appeared that COVID didn't have a negative impact on the Black and brown community? That was number one. I think it was Dr. Giddings that first mentioned that our sitting president said, referenced drinking bleach and being in the sunlight. And then you just have the whole thing that people, especially in New York, we're very strong people, but people were terrified. And so when people are terrified, I feel like they grasp at straws. And so the whole thing about the children not, and remember, I don't have a medical background, but I participated in a lot of platforms during COVID. The entire thing about the children staying home is because they didn't want the possible spread to go to the children, and they take it home to their grandparents who had maybe compromised immune systems. And then when they started to mandate that people had to have it when they were going to work, and the people who didn't want to have it, is because my understanding, the way herd immunity works, you have to have what I think you said 95%. You have to have a lot of people that are vaccinated so that it covers the other people. I got into arguments and fights, especially with a lot of my Black male friends who are heavy in the gym, who were like, oh, I'm strong, I'm tough, I don't get colds, I don't have to have the vaccination. And sadly, quite a few of those people later on then started telling me about their aunts and their grandparents at their homes who passed, right? So I think, like Dr. Giddens said, we need to wait. And if you're talking about diaries, can I tell you, I had a diary. It was part of journaling. The amount of lies I told myself in my diary as a kid. But I haven't read the diaries either. I have heard about them before today, Rabbi Coyne. But I also think that this administration is grabbing at all kinds of different things as we move closer to midterms. How do you break people apart? You make them argue amongst themselves. Now, for me, I had every vaccination, every booster shot that you were supposed to have, because my parents were in Florida and my mama wouldn't let me in the house without it. I kind of agree with you on the point that terminating people from their employment because they didn't have the vaccination was a bad thing, primarily because once the world opened back up, some people were able to get their jobs back and some were not. I will never forget seeing the footage of our former mayor, Eric Adams, walking through the streets without security, encouraging people to get vaccinated. And the way I saw people heckling and throwing and pushing and literally spitting at him. It's like no matter what happens, our society picks one person to target. And if you pay attention, All that negativity and hostility that was happening to our former mayor is now reincarnated in the version that's being cast toward our sitting mayor. So I think we should. I'm sorry. You want to say something, Dr. Giddings?
I just want to say this in terms of COVID. A rabbi is letting the listeners feel like this is over. COVID is like the flu. It's with us. You have to get your COVID vaccine every year, just like you get your flu vaccine every year, because now there are long-term effects to COVID. It's called long COVID, which can cause chronic issues later on in life. And people are experiencing long COVID right now. So COVID is not over and you're not done with the vaccine, etc. You should be vaccinated every year, get your boosters every year, as you do with flu, because COVID is here to stay, just as the flu is. So it's not over. I get my COVID vaccine every year, every fall, COVID and flu. So go ahead and do that, because it's going to protect you in the long run, okay? You want to get all your vaccines, especially the elderly. You want to keep your pneumonia up, everything. You want to get your shingles vaccines, etc. Vaccines are good, and they're making them even better now since COVID with the mRNA and NA type vaccines. So everybody know that they have to still get that stuff, or else you're going to suffer from long COVID. Whoever has had COVID now, the possibility is they may have long COVID.
I had COVID 4 times. I don't think I've ever shared that. I had COVID. I was diagnosed with COVID 4 times during the pandemic. And for me, I kept reminding people as I got into arguments, oh, why did you get vaccinated? The vaccination was not supposed to stop you from getting COVID. It was hopefully supposed to help you not to die, right? And so I think that is one of the largest misconceptions about the vaccination. And Dr. Giddings, you can speak to whether that point is correct or not. But a vast majority of people who didn't believe in Dr. Fauci and didn't believe in the vaccination is because their misunderstanding was, if I get vaccinated, I won't catch COVID. And that is not what the vaccination was for.
Well, there's a percentage that won't, but mainly they were saying to get the vaccine to prevent hospitalization and death, okay? Now, sometimes you would get still the virus, but it wouldn't be as bad, right? Because it'll decrease the symptoms, etc. But it prevented most people from not getting COVID who were really consistent about getting their vaccines, because initially it was like every 6 months, and then you build up the immunity. And then the same thing is from year after year, you have to go ahead and protect yourself, especially the elderly, because eventually you can have cardiac problems, and other chronic issues. So it's really important to still keep getting that COVID vaccine, because people are still getting COVID.
This is a big story, and this is going to remain a big story going forward for the next couple of weeks, as people start to, dig into the diaries and to listen to everything that's out there. This story is just going to keep growing and getting bigger and bigger. We'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're talking with our psychotherapist, and we're talking with Amanda Walton-Desir. We're talking about amphiborrhea in Guyana, South America. Amphiborrhea is a tragedy that just took place last Saturday in Guyana. We were unpacking the story and bringing the information to you. We'll take a commercial break, and we will be right back.
Whatever your audiology needs are, we are here to help. Our full-time staff includes doctors of audiology, graduate student clinicians. We screen for, diagnose, and treat hearing loss in a diverse population of all ages. We work closely with primary care physicians, otolaryngologists, and other healthcare providers to ensure that we are treating the whole person, not just their hearing.
When it was time for my baby's vaccinations, I wasn't sure what to do. There was so much conflicting information. I didn't know what was real. But then I found out that since the 90s, childhood vaccines have saved over 1 million lives and prevented more than 500 million illnesses in children.
And like me, many parents worry. We all want to do what's best for our babies. So I went to my baby's doctor and I asked a lot of questions.
And got the answers I needed. I choose to vaccinate.
Ask questions, get answers. Vaccinate.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Eli Cohen, and I'm excited to introduce you to the new location of the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council Social Service Center. This is where you can continue to get help for seniors with Medicare, Social Security, any problems with SCREE applications and renewals. We have our health navigator who can provide you with health insurance for your family. We have Medicaid and SNAP applications, of course, and our well-known free business counseling for small businesses. So we're looking forward to greeting you at our new location. We're at the corner of Kingston Avenue and Lefferts Avenue in Brooklyn. Call me, Rabbi Eli Cohen, 718-771-9000, and we're here to serve you.
Welcome back. This is the Reset Talk Show. Next up, we're talking about MV Burima, the tragedy that just occurred in Guyana, South America, whereas that vessel capsized, claiming the lives of at least 79 people. And what a tragedy it was. Now, when we talk about tragedy, this has to be the worst tragedy in the history of modern Guyana. With me this morning, we have psychotherapist Dr. Shane Tull, along with MP Amanda Walton-Desir. We're going to unpack this. Welcome in, Dr. Tull. How are you this morning?
Morning, J.R. How are you?
I am well. I am well. Good to have you this morning. Dr. Tull, of course, you're Guyanese, you're a psychotherapist, and we're just reeling from MV Burima, a tragedy of epic proportions. You know, our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and their families. When we talk about tragedy, Dr. Tull, trauma steps in. What can you share with us this morning as a psychotherapist? You know the pain of the immediate families. You know that mothers lost children, fathers lost children, families lost loved ones. Like I said, it's a tragedy of epic proportions. Now let's talk about healing. Let's talk about trauma. Let's talk about what's important from your professional position.
I mean, first of all, I do want to say our hearts goes out to a grieving nation. I think that it's impossible for any of us to look at what happened and did not think of our own family members. So I think that a nation continues to grieve, and we need to put our hands and hearts around those families that are grieving. And we need to provide the space and the support systems that they will need not only 2 weeks from now, but literally like 2 years from now. If this is an epic tragedy that affects the psyche of a whole nation. And we need to definitely be aware of that this is going to be something that we'll have to deal with for the next 2, 3 years. So I really believe that we have to have systems in place to support the immediate family, but also the broader society where people are affected or triggered by the bodies that they're seeing, the things that they're seeing on social media. So I really believe that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We need all hands on deck, and and that is very important that we provide space and resources, mental health resources that people can go and get the help they need. Also, I think it's very important from a humanistic space that we call for accountability. I do think that compassion and accountability can go hand in hand. We grieve with the family, but it is imperative that we have accountability and transparency, because that will be part of our healing process.
Shane, it's so important. Our audience, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the MV Burima tragedy that occurred last Saturday in Guyana, South America, where the vessel sunk off of the Guyanese coast, claiming the lives of at least 73 or 74 people. What we're doing here, we are taking perspectives and covering this from all angles. We have a psychotherapist with us this morning. We have our journalist that's on the ground in Guyana, and soon we'll be joined by MP Amansa Walton Desir. Now, Enrico, you're on the ground, and we're talking about trauma. We're talking about what some of these families are experiencing. I can't imagine what some of those grieving families are going through. From where you sit, what is happening as far as grief, accountability, and what's being done to assist these grieving families?
Good morning, everyone. Shane and J.R.
Good morning.
and all the people that are listening. We've always been told over the years that Guyana is a small place. That everybody knows everybody, that kind of thing. When we meet up, we say, where are you from? And, who's your mother, who's your father, was a connection, and we make a connection. And that in and of itself tells you that once we have a tragedy of this kind of proportion, where you have more than 100 people who are dead or presumed dead, then it will touch almost everyone. There are several areas where, particularly the government services in terms of social services, they are reaching out and making sure that they have counselors. But the other challenge is there are other arms of government that seem to compound the tragedy and are causing people even more alarm, even more agitation, and even more angst, so to speak. Here you have the Attorney General of this country, who has decided that he will support a so-called independent director of public prosecutions who has brought charges against 3 members. And he is online pontificating, postulating, and proposing that the persons who were in charge of the vessel were drunk. He obviously has some kind of evidence in that regard. And then you have the soi-disant bishop who got up and told family members, I was there when he said that the vessel was not overloaded. It did not have over the limit in terms of passengers. The engine was working properly. There was no engine failure, although the state broadcaster had said that there was an engine failure, there was a problem in the engine. Now, one makes the assumption that the state broadcaster and those aligned to the state have a little bit more access, get information a lot faster. from the government, not necessarily the truth. And this is the challenge we have in Guyana. We make the assumption that if the government is telling us something, it is the truth. I've been a journalist for over 40-something years. Journalism and journalists pursue the truth. They do not pursue official results, official releases, officialdom is a different thing. The truth is beyond that. And therefore, what is happening now is that we've got to get to, no pun intended, to the bottom of this thing. You've got a ship on the Atlantic Ocean floor, off the coast of Guyana, off the coast of Essequibo, that can be salvaged. I participated in a salvage operation. When I say participated, I covered it for the Weather Channel, where there was a company that came in from Holland by way of Dubai, and they were salvaging a vessel in the Demerara River. Salvaging has been part of low-lying countries for a long time. So you can salvage this vessel if you really want to. And you can bring closure for the relatives. I remember where I began in this discussion, that people know each other. I'm speaking because I know a family, very close to a family, whose cousin is being buried today as a result of that tragedy. I don't want to say how high up the connections are with that family in terms of government, but I'm sure that one of the persons who's high up in government here in Ghana will not say anything, will not want to rock the boat, because that person wants to keep the little walk. It's a big walk. Don't want them to come for them, and so on. Why are we still in that mode if we are a country that seeks closure and seeks the truth? Here's an analogy that I want to make. You had two survivors from the helicopter crash. The 5 people who died in that helicopter crash, not one of them was cited for murder. The 2 survivors, you're not hearing anything from them. They're not heroes, according to what is being published by the government. That report has all of a sudden been classified as top secret, and you can't access it. You can argue that there were no public officials, there were no members of the public. These were members of the army, therefore it was a military operation. Yet the National Security Advisor printed that there were 200 people who were on board that vessel. In case you didn't know, lots of people screen grab that. So they knew that they had more people on that vessel. And here's something I want to put into the fray again. When we had the Phantom Squad shooting up and killing and so on, some people were questionable character indeed, right? But how did we get to the bottom of it? We went to not only the videotape, we went to the phone records. And I would want to ask that the phone records of the persons who were accused of loading, the phone records of the captain, the phone records of the married people, the phone records of the Spanish Bishop, and if it is not top secret, even the Prime Minister. And you will find that there are things that people do, call each other, instruct that things be done, and then pull out and say, what's me? They're all shattered.
Thank you, Enrico. Audience, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the MV Burima tragedy. We have psychotherapist Dr. Shane Tull here. We have journalist extraordinaire Enrico Wolford, and we will be joined very shortly by MP Amanda Walton Desir. Now, Enrico, coming back to you, as soon as Amanda jumps in, we want to defer to her for a minute because I know that she's squeezing out time just to be here this morning. You know, you said that charges were brought against the captain and his crew of MV Burima. Is this the justice that families and survivors are looking for?
I don't get that impression. And talking with the families, and our reporters have been out there talking, not only from Capital News, from various other news outlets, talking with the families, and they are not comfortable. Right now, as far as I'm aware, there's a protest in Den Amstel with regard to the loading superintendent. Obviously, people recognize that that vessel had challenges, you know, and for the state to try to pull itself out and put it on 3 persons when they were fully aware that the vessel had challenges. So the public isn't buying it. And this is not necessarily from one political side or the other political side. The public isn't buying it. And what we need to arrive at is the truth. And the way we can arrive at the truth is to leave, as the president said, leave no stone unturned. And that means turning up the Burima, bringing it up to the surface, and making sure that there's closure. There are numerous examples in the Barents Sea. I think that it's pronounced the Kurtz. That vessel was brought up. We have a lot more than this little vessel that we had here that was there since before Hitler invaded Poland. Since 1939, that vessel was there.
I think what you're alluding to, Enrico, is that the government is saying that they don't think that they will be able to bring the vessel from below the seas. And I also understood that the opposition leader is willing, to step in to ready that boat and bring it right back up to the surface. What can you tell us about that?
I know I saw a Facebook post in which the opposition leader made an offer if the government agrees with that offer. Knowing Guyana, the opposition leader could make any offer. The government will grandstand, knowing how Guyana operates. If the government decides to call his bluff, if you want to put it that way, or call him out on it, they will find various obstacles to see why it can't be done. We have a unique country where people tell you why it can't be done rather than how we can get it done.
You know, Enrico, this is going to be coming up on this Friday. It's going to be a week since this tragedy.
Well, Saturday to be precise.
Saturday to be precise. What's the one thing that would make you feel a little bit better in this whole tragedy? What's one thing you want to see happen? What's one thing you want to see come to light with this tragedy?
I'm also a member of Transparency International Guyana chapter. And one thing we have been saying is that there should be a full and complete investigation of an international standard that will speak to accountability, will speak to the challenges of a bad system, of a corrupt system that everybody knows has been going on for years in various sectors in this country. And I think that is what we would like to see. A proper, truthful investigation, not an official investigation, a truthful investigation, something that looks towards getting the truth and not trying to bamboozle the public into believing that the government's version of the story has to be the right version of the story. Governments have been wrong ad nauseum, ad infinitum.
Dr. Tull, as you sit here and you listen to our journalist Enrico, pose a question to him from your perspective, from through your lens, as we deal with the families and the survivors.
I mean, what do you think this tragedy has done to the collective psyche of the country? And I do believe that if we look at past trauma that we have experienced as a nation, we're probably in PTSD mode, post-traumatic stress disorder mode. And when you evaluate the response of the government, I think that even compounds the magnitude of this tragedy. And how do you think people are coping from a mental health perspective? I know there's some services out there for people that have been affected, but I really think we need to look at it on a more systematic level, on a more global level, in terms of how this is affecting the whole psyche and everyone in the country, especially as we approach emancipation.
Shane, I'm glad you made a link to emancipation, because it is my honest belief, we'd have to check the records, that ever since slaves were jettisoned overboard, or the enslaved Africans went down in slave ships, we have not had the kind of tragedy where more than 100 Guyanese or persons associated with Guyana in a meaningful way have died. You can list Jonestown, but I keep pointing out that Jonestown, as Kit Nascimento always made that point too, Jonestown was an American tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
The Americans were able to deal with that American tragedy, and the Guyana government at that time did what it could to assist in dealing with that tragedy. Very few Guyanese, if any, were involved. There were a few, yes. But this tragedy is the most significant tragedy in terms of numbers. We have always journalists, commentators, broadcasters like the late Clem David and Matthew Allen and so on, always pointed to our need to have and be prepared for a mass casualty event, a mass fatality event. We tend to take things very lightly. We go on the boat, we lime and we ting, and we don't wear seat belts and we don't wear life jackets. Even on the plane, people ignore when the flight attendants are doing what I like to call the blessing. Essentially, we've had some accidents, but never at this scale. And therefore, the people have to be treated with respect. I think that's all the people want to know, that they're being treated with respect, that they're not being bamboozled, they're not being bulldozed, and they're not being coerced into accepting the decisions of the government side, which is only part of the elected representatives. I think fail to understand that. When we went in election, people elected across the board. Everybody went in hoping that they could win. The people who bring second always end up in the opposition. But they're all elected. And therefore, you've got to listen to the elected representatives across the board. And the challenge we have is that people still depend on some people in the opposition, as people depend on some people in the government, to make representations on their behalf. We should not, Shane, and you've been involved in mental health, we should not cow people into submission and make them feel less than human beings. The reason we have societies is not because of an economy. It is because of people. It is because of people. We exist as people, as human beings, not who can, to quote Errol Barrow, not who could buy who guava jelly and tamarind syrup. It is not just a matter of trading. It is a matter of being human beings. And grief, tragedy would always bring people together. But in this country, even in this country, even at times like these, when we're supposed to bring people together, we find ways of dividing by making, to my mind, arrogant statements. Chapo Manraj once said, the late Chapo Manraj once said, Guyana has a way where we have developed arrogance to the point that it is an apotheosis of arrogance, meaning that it is almost like a godlike state. We have to eschew that and just listen to the people, be humble and be accepting. And humility doesn't mean poverty; it means modesty.
But also, I think leadership should be people centered, not ego driven. And I think it's important that that message be clear, and the people need to demand better, that we elected you to represent us, and it's imperative that you listen to us. And I really believe that the civic society, the religious communities need to come out and make a joint statement about how this is affecting the people and how the government should respond to that. Leadership should be people centered, and transparency is the hallmark of democracy. We must be transparent, and it is part of us healing. How are we going to heal from this tragedy if we don't know what happened? The families deserve to know that. The people of Guyana deserve that. I really think this their psyche have been bruised and battered, and we need to do things to uplift them collectively. This is not a partisan issue. This is an issue that the whole country needs to come together and support each other. And acting for accountability is not an insult to the government. It's a request of the people that should be met at its highest standard.
Shane, for our listeners and viewers, what advice would you give to the families and the survivors of the MV Burima tragedy? What advice would you like to share with them right now?
I mean, first of all, I'd like to say my heart breaks for them. My heart breaks for the country and what their experience is. But to those families, I encourage you to stick together, ask questions, get the help you need, get the mental health services that you need for individual families and for collective as a community. And these things cannot just happen in silos just for 2 weeks. Mental health for these families need to happen on an ongoing basis for the next 2 years, where it is served and well reported. And they should be allowed to ask hard questions, and they should get those answered. But really, the people around them also, to give them the support that they need. And not to say, I know what you're going through. I think a perfect in way is to say, I have no idea what you're going through. However, how can I help you? I am here for you. If you want to talk, I'm here for you. If you can take food to a family that you know are in need, do that. Anything that you can do to bring any kind of comfort to these families, we should be consistent and judicious about it. We must take care of each other in this time, as painful as it is. We're also a resilient people, and we must engage that to weather this storm. But we have to be conscious of the anger that people are experiencing. You cannot talk about mental health and not acknowledge the anger of the population. They're angry, but they're hurt, and they feel that they've been failed, and that affects us in our mental health. And if we cannot live in our own immediate space, doesn't make us safe. Everybody needs to have a sense of awareness and a sense of comfort that government, society is taking care of us. Those tragic events that we can look to each and take care of ourselves, and at the same time act and call for accountability.
Thank you, Shane. Enrico, as we talk about families and we talk about the survivors, a lot of these survivors have lost everything. A lot of them were traveling for business. A lot of them were traveling with goods for their services. Now that a lot of them are destitute, what is being done for those people that are destitute, that don't know where to turn? And obviously, as we listen to Dr. Tull, you don't even know how you're going forward. What are we doing for those people, okay, that have lost everything?
Well, I've been monitoring the media here, and I know particularly the banks in the country have been making it very clear about the process and the procedures that you have to follow. If you've lost somebody, if somebody is dead, as against somebody who survived and has lost their identification and all the other, all the other things that are that would make you into a government, an official person, so to speak. They have been laying out the different processes and procedures that you have to follow. And I think people should not fear that from that perspective. The other challenge is that when you don't find a body, then it takes legally a certain number of years. The lawyers can come on and talk about that in a much better way before you can activate the estate and what have you of that person. So there are other things that are happening, other parts that are rolling. The other aspect of it is that it is not just emotional closure. A lot of people were breadwinners, and therefore those persons have to be replaced, so to speak, in terms of some kind of support system. I used to be the head of NCN at one time, and I was there just covering the story, only to discover that one of the staff who used to be there He is now at a different government entity. He lost his dad. And his dad is younger than I am. And his dad was still working in the system and not very far from retirement. So not only will the family lose the parent, but this man has lost his pension, his wife, whoever else may benefit. You know, there are all these other things that are difficulties and challenges. And that's why I'm saying we've got to listen to our elected representatives and not just from one side. We always talk about one Guyana, and persons talk about the one Guyana meaning one side. But I always point out that the fact that you're talking about one Guyana means that you think there is more than one. The only way that you will come up with trying to say let us be one is because we were not one. And it is even written into our national anthem, the land of six peoples united and free. So we know that there are, even if they're man-made divisions through our head, imaginary divisions, we know that there are divisions in the society. Let us see how we can overcome those divisions and solve the problems, the challenges of this country. And I think they're relatively easy to solve if we decide that we're going to listen to everybody as much as possible or through their elected representatives.
Thank you for that. So I think the biggest, one of the biggest trending stories that's across the internet is Prime Minister Phillips being disdained to a reporter. I'm not sure. It might have been a reporter. It might have been just someone that was posing a question to him. But it came across very ugly. How do you respond to that?
You're asking me or you're asking Shane?
No, I'm asking, sorry, Enrico, I'm asking you because I know you're on the ground there and
well, Shane,
you know where
Shane is the mental health one. So because if you're referring to where the Prime Minister spoke to noise, I think that's the difficulty of serving in the army when you end up being catapulted in a political position where you're supposed to have humanity and and be humane and be modest. When you're an army officer and you're barking orders and you're telling people stop the noise and this is another frame and so on, it's a different citation. It is another frame. You have to get out of that mental, that's why I was asking you this for Shade. You have to get out of that mental capsule that you're in. You are not an army officer. You are now the Prime Minister of the country. And you cannot set yourself up as if because you are the Prime Minister, it means that you have the legitimate right to wrong somebody. It is not noise when people are expressing their opinions. Nobody is foolish in terms of the world. Everybody got some modicum of sense, some ability somewhere. You know, if you listen to the Desiderata, this is what it says almost all the time. So you've got to be calm, you've got to be deliberate, and you've got to understand that people are worth something. You've got
I think I think we lost you on video there for a minute. Enrico, I think we lost you for a minute there. Well, it's that type, is that time of the morning. I don't know what's going on, but even MP Manza, Walton Desir is having a challenge with the internet. I don't know what's going on with the internet in Guyana. I don't want to pass any judgment here, but of course, we're going to continue to pursue all the information coming out of Guyana every week. For the next few weeks, we will continue to bring different elected officials, attorneys, um, journalists. We're going to continue to move this story forward. We're almost at the top of the hour, so I'm going to bring back in Donatella and Dr. Tull as we close out today. Let's start with you, Dr. Tull. What are your closing remarks for today?
My to be people-centered, and leadership should be people-centered and compassionate. To the people of Guyana, I implore you to take care of each other in this critical moment. And let the story be not what happened on the sea, but how we take care of each other during this massive tragedy. That humanity took care of each other, but also be bold enough to stand up, request, and demand transparency and accountability.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tull. Donatella, welcome back in. This international segment, it takes a lot of time. We didn't get a chance to have you pose any questions, but your closing remarks for today. Donatella, we can't hear you.
Oh, thank you. That's something people don't say very often as an Aries because I talk a lot. But as we close today's episode of the Reset Talk Show, I want to just thank each and every one of you for spending part of your Wednesday with us. Today's conversation reminds us that while the headlines may change, the need to be informed, respectful, and thoughtful dialogue never does. Today, we discussed escalating conflict from involving Iran with the difficult questions surrounding diplomacy, national security, and the human cost of war. We examined the latest developments in the legal battle over mail in voting and what President Trump's request to the U.S. Supreme Court could mean for the nation as we prepare for the 2026 midterm elections. Well, you all are going to go out there and vote, of course. We also explored the latest developments surrounding Dr. Anthony Fauci's Senate testimony, emphasizing the importance of constitutional rights, congressional oversight, and allowing facts, not assumptions, something we really talked about today, to guide public decisions and discussions. A significant portion of today's program, as you just heard, focused on the MV Barama tragedy in Guyana. I want to send out my deepest condolences and heartfelt prayers to people both in Guyana and here in the diaspora. And of course, I want to thank J.R. Giddings for putting together such a powerful show. At the Reset Talk Show, I can calmly and faithfully say our mission has always been to inform, educate, and inspire meaningful conversations that strengthen our community. And I think I can say wholeheartedly that today's episode did just that.
Thank you so much, Donatella. Once again, I want to thank all the contributors today, from Donatella to Rabbi Cohen, our Democratic strategist, Deidre Rashid, Dr. Giddings and Rabbi Cohen. And of course, we had Dr. Tull, the psychotherapist, and we had the journalist Enrico Wolford. MP Amanza Walton Desir, she was trying to get on, but the internet service was a little choppy. So hopefully we could have her on next week as we dive deeper into the MV Burima tragedy. Once again, I want to thank all of you for letting us come into your homes every Wednesday. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the Reset Talk Show NY. Tell a friend to tell a friend that we're here. We're bringing all the big stories, and we have some of the best minds in the country to disseminate the information for you. Once again, see you next Wednesday, same time, same place. Have an enjoyable Wednesday.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.